Salve a tutti e bentornati alle live di vlog. Un saluto a tutti quanti. Allora, adesso io come sempre faccio i miei soliti check iniziali della trasmissione per vedere se funziona tutto. Naturalmente, amici del pubblico che ci state vedendo, ovviamente fatemi sapere se va tutto bene. Ci state seguendo su YouTube, su Twitch, su Facebook, su tanti canali. E allora è un vero piacere avervi qui, è un vero piacere ricominciare con le nostre dirette dopo la nostra pausa estiva del canale e tanti eventi anche in arrivo, veramente tantissime convention. La prima ce ne sono tante che purtroppo non posso andare. Ricordo Firenze gioca intorno al 25 settembre, 24-25 settembre, e anche la Vencon, la Fabcom che c'è stata a Ferrara proprio pochi giorni fa. La prossima sarà Piana delle Orme, Raduno Casus Belli, ci sarò, e poi Rome War Game Gathering, Piana delle Orme metà ottobre, e poi la seconda di ottobre, il secondo fine settimana di ottobre, il terzo fine settimana di ottobre, Rome War Game Gathering con la Federazione Italiana Wargame, anche lì ci sarò. E poi novembre, all'ultimo fine settimana di novembre, Milano Wargames, e anche lì ci vedremo più altre cose poi sparse in giro. Vediamo un po'. Vediamo un po' i prossimi eventi. Quindi, come sempre, tante cose. Il canale è ricominciato e sono ricominciate in live. E mi fa veramente piacere introdurvi l'ospite di stasera, presentarvi l'ospite di stasera, che è, eccolo qua, Uwe Walentin. Nice to meet you, Uwe. Just one thing, Uwe, how do I pronounce it?
The English say Uwe, and
Yeah.
the correct pronunciation is Uwe.
Uwe. Okay.
As you say, yeah.
I had some similar problems with Folko Runke, Ranky Runke. Okay,
yeah.
Uwe. That's nice.
Like the famous Uwe Rosenberg. Uwe
Yeah,
Rosenberg is well known, and Ciao,
Okay.
amici, ciao amico. I'm very happy for the invitation. Thank you very much. I'm very honored. I feel very honored. I did not tell you yet. My wife, she is half Italian.
Oh, really?
And sometimes I forget about it. The day we argue, then I remember. Oh yeah. Her temper is half Italian. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did not tell you, but my wife is Italian, but she spent a lot of years in Germany at Kassel, and she has some German temper. Yeah. So one thing for our Italian listeners. Ok, questo video ovviamente io e Uwe parleremo in inglese. Naturalmente, se avete domande eccetera, tranquillamente fatele in italiano nei commenti e tutto. Poi traduco io le domande, tradurrò le risposte di Uwe e poi ogni tanto facciamo un pochino di riassunto. Ok, just some brief instructions for our Italian listeners about the language regime of this interview. I love doing this mixed language interview, I have to say. So, Uwe, you are here. Essentially, why? Because you have just launched last week, if I'm right, a project on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And this project is History of the Ancient Seas. And our public will find the description in the link to the project, the Kickstarter project, in the description of the video. But before speaking about the project, I want to speak about you all, and just to start, a really big thanks to Sergio Schiavi, who put us in contact. A great common friend, Sergio. He's a great designer, a great wargamer, and a great guy too.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree to that. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, just a brief introduction of your background.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you come? Even before, as a designer, I always ask you, the designers who are guests on my channel, where do you come from as a player? Okay, What is your experience in games, be them Euro games, board games, war games, or whatever they are, and what pushed you into becoming a designer and even more a producer, a publisher? Okay.
Yeah, first of all, what I really find always very amazing, because you mentioned our friend Sergio, what I really love about Facebook and the internet, it connects gamers all over the world, and I find it so amazing. I'm sitting here in Switzerland. I'm a German guy. I'm from southern Germany. You're from Italy, and I know that some guys from the US will maybe join us for this session, and I'm really very, very happy to feel again and again how gaming is connecting people from all over the world. I'm really happy about that. So to my background, I'm 52 years old. I'm a gamer since a little boy. I started, as many of you guys, with Risk, Monopoly, and then maybe later with Axis and Allies. And I was 14 or 15 when my first big war game was an Italian production, International Team.
Oh, Marco Donadoni, Marco
Marco
Donadoni.
Donadoni.
Yeah.
And at that age, when I was 14, the games were about 80 Deutschmarks, which is today around 80 euros, let's say. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money for a guy that is 14. And I saved my pocket money and such for over a year to be able to buy Waterloo from International Team.
Oh, the one with the octagons, if I remember right.
With the octagons and the squares, etc. And this was my first war game, and of course, because it was my first war game, it is the only war game that I played 50, 60, 70 times. I mean, today, with the inflation of games and the collection everybody of us has, I have more games in my collection than I actually play, but I guess that's similar for most of you. And that's how I discovered war games and strategy games. And my second game was Jena, also from International Team. And then I was a huge fan of International Team. And these were my first 5 or 6 war games I had, thanks to great Marco Donadoni. And while doing my studies at university, I was studying history and French and Russian. I met Duccio Vitale who just founded Eurogames. And he was looking for someone who is doing translation. And later he had the idea to create an office in Germany. And because my studies were not very successful, because I was playing too much games and spending too much nights with my friends playing war games, I took the occasion and said to Duccio, "Yeah, of course, let's create an office in Germany." And then I was, from one day to the next, I was general director of Eurogames Germany. Which was nothing at that time. Because shortly after that, he was sold, or he was taken over by Jeux Descartes from Paris.
Yeah.
And because Jeux Descartes, the managing director there, he liked me. He said, "Uwe, what you did for Duccio, you can do for Jeux Descartes. We will create an office in Germany with Jeux Descartes Allemagne." And then I had a job in the gaming business, and I was very, very happy. And I was staying a gamer, and was very lucky to be part of the business of the publishing community. And I had my first experiences.
And we are speaking about the first years of war games in Europe, essentially, because you are mentioning Jeux Descartes, you're mentioning International Team, and these were essentially the first years of wargaming in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we know.
We were pioneers in a way, huh?
Absolutely.
And there were not many of us at that time in Europe that were playing war games. Short story, long story short end. After a couple of years working for Jeux Descartes, I had the feeling I know to do it better. I want to do it myself. And I said to Jacques Béard, Jacques, I want to be independent. I want to create my own company. And I created a company that is called Proludo. And I was very lucky with Proludo because we had the werewolves of how is it? Les Loups-Garous de Tiercelieu. It's a small card game by Philippe Despaillers, which we imported. And only after 3 years having this company, I was working as a distributor for Days of Wonder. And they had Ticket to Ride, the game of the year.
That was a big hit. That was a big success.
This was a big success for Days of Wonder. This was a big success for my company, of course. So we grew very, very quickly. We had huge numbers. We had a decent company with Proludo in Germany. But after a couple of years, I felt that I do not do anymore what I really like to do. My core as a gamer is really war games, strategy games.
Yeah.
But with Proludo, I had to earn money because I had 15 employees. We had a structure, we had a stock and such. And after a while, I realized I do not do anymore what I really want to do. So I was, again, very lucky because Marc Nunes from Asmodee, he bought Proludo. He took it over. This offered him an opportunity to get a foot on the German market with a structure, with a team and such. And he took a lot of pressure from me. He said, Uwe, go and do what you like to do. But after 2 years with Asmodee, I felt that 15 years in the gaming business is enough and I needed a break. So I took a break and I did something completely different in life. I had a couple of retail stores. I had Timberland franchise stores. I had a Hugo Boss franchise store and a couple of other franchise stores. I did this for 10 years.
Ventures. Many different ventures.
I did this for about 10 years and then I quit that and I became a professional soccer coach. And was working as a technical director for a soccer coach, first in Switzerland and then later in Germany.
Fantastic.
And then 4 years ago, I showed my wife a prototype. I was always a gamer, doing retail, being a soccer coach. I never forgot gaming. But and one day I showed my wife a prototype of History of the Ancient Seas in a drawer. And she said, "What is this? This is crazy. This is huge." It was an ancient, historical. My professor at university for history, Karl Hauser, the author of the game, he gave that prototype to me many, many years ago. He passed, by the way. He left us. He left Earth, unfortunately, Karl Hauser. And he gave me this prototype with 4 maps and thousands of counters, 60 pages of rules. It was an unplayable thing, but it was fascinating because it had a lot of details and it combined trading, warfare, diplomacy, and all that we are looking when we want to play a civilization civ building game. And I put it out of my drawer, and my wife said, "This is crazy. What is this?" And I explained to her, and she said, "You have to do that, develop it and publish it." So the idea was born to quit soccer because being a coach or being a technical director is very, very stressful. It's very demanding, and I quit that and started to develop games for Sound of Drums. And first of all, I developed the game from Karl Hauser, his huge History of the Ancient Seas, which was in that version completely unplayable. It was simply too huge. So I had the idea.
Prototype.
So I had the idea to take his basic idea, developing his civ building concept, but doing 3 games at the same time. So if you watch now on our Kickstarter campaign,
we will get to that. We will get to the description of the project or the different modules of the project.
And we wanted to do something completely else. And I worked on it for 3 years because it was really hard work to transform the original design to something that is playable for the gamers.
Uwe, we have just one thing. I want to salute the Club de Tovaglia, which I don't know. It is what do you say when you put something on your dinner table that is okay? I don't have the vocabulary. Essentially, it is a gaming club. They are two great friends of mine that regularly follow and with their channel, with their page about board games, and one of them is an archaeologist, so I know she is very very interested in the subject, and they are approaching historical simulation games, and this leads me and just one thing. They made a question, Marco Donadoni, if he is the author or the only game with an Etruscan team that they know. Yes, he is. That's it. I think that the game, I don't remember the name, but it is about with an Etruscan divinity. Anyway, this gives me the space to make an observation, because what you told us is that in the first years, historical gaming, what we now will call Euro games, board games, were very intermingled, because in your first years you switched from one subgender to the other. You mentioned Ticket to Ride, which is by just being designed by Alan Moon, but Alan Moon is a developer for many war games. He has been he's an active war gamer, even if he's a very very successful designer of classic Euro games. And also your profession, your first years, your career is just this, because I remember GDK, and I remember one of the games, which was Le Lie la Cocarde, which is essentially a very simple game, but it was about the French Revolution.
Yes,
and it had many faction in between in that, and you could switch from one faction to the others, to the other. So it was very thematic. These, I think, but just confirm for me, this what we will now define a hybrid approach. Really, it was it a basis for your approach in History of the Ancient Seas? Because I've read the small snippets of the rulebook, I've read the campaign, I've seen the components, and this really screams to me, okay, hybrid Euro historical war game simulation. It is something in the middle, and I'm seeing much of this. So beginning to speak about History of the Ancient Seas, can we define the game as a hybrid Euro war game with all caution of the description? Considering that you're a real war gamer, because I see behind you some titles about MMP, I see Tunisia, the OCS, I see really hardcore Grogner war games. But can we define History of the Ancient Seas as a hybrid Euro war game or something like that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You know, when I was developing the original design, I said to myself, I'm a huge fan of the coin series, and I was playing a lot of card-driven games. And actually, I tried to develop a system that can be a new genre, because you know what we have in the game system, in the game mechanic, is the engine of the game is the action cycle. And the action cycle leads to a lot of interaction. There's zero downtime. I promise, zero downtime. Even if you play the 5-player version of the game, the huge Mare Nostrum, there's zero downtime. So I'm very proud of the development of this action cycle. And you're totally correct. The game series, the mechanism is a hybrid. It has the historical war game aspect, if you want, but there's a lot of
simulation aspect, a simulation game.
but
Yeah.
there's a lot of trading, there's development, there's a lot of diplomacy in the game, and still it is relatively simple. You can reduce the core rule text to 8 pages. 8 pages is really not a lot. If you compare that to a war game or to a game of the coin series or a card-driven game like Here I Stand with 42, 45
or even a
pages.
serious Euro game, because there are many Euro games which are much longer than 8 pages of rules. Much
So
more complex.
so we have a very, let's say, not simplistic, but a simple approach to a game mechanism that is very demanding, that is very tactical, demanding on players. And it's not easy to win a game of History of the Ancient Seas. It's really very, very difficult. So as you said, as you asked, you're totally correct. It's a hybrid, the mechanism. And I hope that gamers will recognize that, there's a new genre, this action cycle mechanism, and it's really very, very, very fine. It's very well developed. And, as being a wargamer, I suffer when I play wargame versus a human opponent, having this 1 hour downtime when he's doing his turn, when he's doing his movement, me just sitting there and watching. So
I go, you go. So I move my 100 counters, and then it's your 100 counters.
Absolutely,
and attack and defense and block and retreat and advance and so on. Yeah.
So
been there, done that many times.
So you know that phenomenon. So one of our major tasks was I wanted to have interactivity. I wanted to have 0 downtime. And it's
Uwe,
like this.
just one moment. Per chi ci segue in italiano, il centro, il fulcro di History of the Ancient Seas è un ciclo di azioni, un po' a bit like Imperial, maybe. The idea is that if you do one action, you cannot do the other player cannot do the same action just after that, immediately after, something like that. Se voi fate un combattimento, l'avversario non lo può fare subito dopo. It's a bit of a cross between Imperial and the coin series, where a coin, when you make a special action so that the opponent cannot make a special operation after, and so on. There is no downtime because everything is interrelated. Just one time in Italian, non c'è downtime perché è tutto correlato, cioè se io faccio un'azione economica, chi è dopo di me non potrà fare l'azione economica. Quindi state sempre lì a controllare, a verificare che cosa fa l'altro, e anche voi, le cose che voi fate, le azioni che fate dipendono, appunto, anzi influiscono sulle azioni dell'altro. Ci possono essere dei contrasti indiretti. Faccio un'azione economica per impedirti di fare l'azione economica che te. I make an economic action, ok, I'm banalizing, but it's very simplifying, okay? I make an economic action so that you cannot make an economic action just immediately after me. So I'm contrasting you indirectly, okay?
Yes.
This is very, very interesting, especially in an ancient history, setting. Oh, okay. We have a tablecloth club, which says, "Shut up and take my money." That is the reaction that you want in this video. That is the okay. You got one copy.
Grazie, tante grazie.
Okay. This I'm seeing more and more something like that with internet connected actions. I've seen that also in the coalitions that is coming from Phalanx. There's something of a similar wheel of actions, and it is a very interesting development. However, one thing, a brief description of the campaign, because I come to the page of the campaign and I see one game, another game, and 2 expansions here, 2 expansions there. A brief descriptions, I see 3 different modules, okay?
Yes.
How do they work? How do all these work?
First of all, why do we have 3 modules? Why do we do that? Many people told
Okay.
us, you don't do that. You do 1 game. You don't do 3 games, Uwe. And I said, yeah, I know what you're saying. But first, we wanted to do something different. We wanted to try something different. We wanted to take a risk. That's for sure. But there's a very good reason. Why do we do 3 modules? Take any civilization game you want. Take the classic Civilization by Tresham. Take History of the Inner Seas, or Civilization of the Inner Seas by
Ancient
GMT.
Civilizations of the Inner Seas. Yeah. Which I really like, which is a great game.
Yeah, me too. I was very intrigued and I really liked it. But what I did not like is if you play it with 2 players, you only have a small part of the map.
Okay.
You only have you have this huge map. There's a lot of material and such, and you only use some of it. And I found it a little bit frustrating looking at the huge map and being able only to play on a small part of the map. So what we do is, I said, every gamer, normally he has 1 buddy he's playing with, or you have a gaming group, or you have 2 buddies. So we said we want to design a huge game, independent game for 2 players only. So Hellas, which is having a nice huge map, a lot of material, and you really can enjoy the vast and epic scenario. And the same is true for DS0, where you play with 3 players. And then we were thinking about, there are not many 3-player games out there on the market, unfortunately, because
and not many civilization games for 3 players.
And that's a big pity, because in a 3-player game you always have this very nice situation, 1 against 2, everybody against everybody, or everyone against everyone, or 2 against 1, 1 against 2, etc. This is this triangle constellation is very, very interesting to play. And again, here we want to have a satisfactory playing experience, having a huge map, a lot of material, etc., etc. Sharing together with Mare Nostrum the same basic mechanics. So if you once know Hellas, it's very easy to learn DS0, because there's just a little special rules, extra rules. Same for Mare Nostrum. Mare Nostrum is maybe a little bit more complicated, because we gave special abilities to the powers. In Hellas, we have the special situation with Sicily, where all Athens and Sparta tried to put a foot on and gain control over Sicily. So there are some special rules for Sicily. But as I said, our idea was to create 3 independent modules, which are perfect as they are, and not this. I think games that try to be playable for 2 to 8 players, I don't trust them. This is not possible. I cannot believe that.
Not focused. Okay.
Yeah, I cannot believe that you have the same pleasure playing a game with 2 players and 8 players the same. This is not, in my experience, this is not possible. So,
just one thing for our Italian listeners. We have abbiamo 3 moduli: Hellas, Diesire e Mare Nostrum. Hellas is about Athens and Sparta.
Yes.
Athens and Sparta, 2 players games. Okay, 2. And then we have Diesire, which is 3 players games. Gioco da 3. It is Persia contro i Greci, contro Persia against the Greeks. And then we have Mare Nostrum, and here comes Rome with Carthage and other, which is for 5 players.
Yes. 5 or 4. Yeah.
4 or 5. All of the games, do they have solo module? I think
Hellas you can play totally solo.
Okay.
Because we have a solo module that is taking over the role of 1 faction.
Okay.
So you can play DS0 with 2 people. You can play Mare Nostrum with 3 people, because there's also an optional rule that is saying the king is dead. We have static
Okay.
empires. So we create a setup for a static empire where the king is dead. So this is if you want an inactive empire. So you can play this with 4 people or 4 gamers, or even with 3 if you take the solo model and the solo module and the optional rule for the king is dead. You can play Mare Nostrum with 3 players.
Okay. Okay. Great. So lots of flexibility.
Yes.
Okay. And this is very nice. One curiosity, you say that it is a relaunch, so the system already existed. I see on the campaign, Kickstarter campaign, the relaunch.
Yeah, it is. It is like this. When I started the project,
Okay.
I was not new to publishing, but what was completely new for me, and I was a beginner at crowdfunding. I had no idea how crowdfunding works.
Okay.
My idea was, I present a game, a civilization building game. Everybody loves civilization building games. Everybody does. And I said, I will launch this. I will prepare a campaign. I launch, and then it will go boom. I learned that I did, out of 50 possible mistakes, I did 49 mistakes. And the campaign failed because I did not understand how. I know how to publish games. I know how to play. I know how to design, to develop and such, but I did not know how crowdfunding works. And the campaign was a disaster. It was a disaster. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to learn a lot of things and create a couple of things before relaunching. Yeah.
And now the campaign is going super well, I have to say, because it is already funded, if I'm right.
Yeah, I think for a new company, and the crowdfunding market is very, very competitive. There are a lot of products, and especially in September. And I know that our idea launching with 3 modules at the same time is risky. I know all of that. And considering all that, I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied where the campaign is. I think we are at almost funded. We are very, very close. To getting funded. I hope maybe tonight, with the help of our Italian friends. I think we need 4 or 5.
The campaign will be up until the campaign
6th.
will be October 6th. Ok, campagna finisce 6 ottobre, quindi there is time. Okay, we have 3 weeks, but okay. And we have a question once again for our friends at the top of them. Cronologicamente che periodo abbraccio? What is the chronological period? From where do you start and when do you end with all the games?
Okay, so we kept this relatively vague. We did not want to have a hardcore historical strategy game, because this would exclude a lot of potential gamers who like civ building games. So it's not that I was not willing to read history books and put a lot of more history and a lot of more historical detail into the games, but when you look at the rules manual, you will see that I read my history books. So this is one thing, but we did not want to put too much detail into it. So it's relatively vague. So we start with the area of Peloponnesian War in Hellas. It's Sparta against Athens. Here's the very nice situation that Athens and Sparta are very close to each other, which is a very nice constellation. Then, if you want, after the Peloponnesian War, we enter that era of Alexander the Great, with him conquering Persia, going to India. And of course, we have here, because we wanted to have a third party in the game, Egypt. Of course, at that time, 200 before Jesus Christ, Egypt was not a major power anymore in the Mediterranean ancient seas. I know this, but we wanted to create a nice scenario with 3 empires in the Mediterranean seas. And then, of course, the Mare Nostrum, the let's say masterpiece of the series, because it's really huge, it's epic. It has almost 500 wooden. It starts with the first Punic War, if you want. and ends around, I would say, with the Second Punic War.
Ok, allora praticamente cominciamo ricapitolando i 3 moduli base: Hellas, Atene contro Sparta. Poi abbiamo Diesire che ci porta verso Alessandro Magno, quindi anche fino alla conquista dell'India e tutto quanto. E poi Mare Nostrum con Roma. Everyone has its own map, okay, if I'm right. Its own map, its own counters, its own cards. It's totally independent.
Yes.
I'm right. Quindi tutti i moduli hanno la loro mappa, i loro segnalini, sono totalmente indipendenti tra di loro. Dicevamo, Mare Nostrum, quindi è quello per 5 giocatori, ed è appunto Roma, Cartagine e appunto altri soggetti, altre potenze nel Mediterraneo. Mare Nostrum is the real stuff, okay? It's the great, is the great game. Tutti i giochi hanno un regolamento di base in comune e poi da lì partono con le regole specifiche. Every game has the same base rule set, it is the same base system, and every single game has its own special rules, scenario features, and so on. But you also have, I've seen in the campaign, some expansions as well.
Yes.
And also you are proposing alternative modes to play those same games. Those games are becoming something of a sandbox. Parliamo ora delle espansioni che sono nella campagna. So can you tell us something more about these expansions that we see on the campaign?
Mm-hmm. So my most favorite expansion is expansion number 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small expansion only, where you have cardboard tokens that represent the merchandise that are on the map. And with these cardboard tokens, when you look on the map, the distribution of the merchandise is fixed. It's set up, it's pre-set up. But with expansion 1, we distribute in a random manner the merchandise. Also, the number of merchandise varies in this expansion. So, for example, if you have 3 times gold in Hellas on the map, it is possible that with the expansion, because the distribution is randomly, you can have only 1 gold, or you can have up to 6 gold, and the position of the merchandise is unknown. So you face them face down. You place them face down on the map, and then when you enter an hexagon, you can place them face up and see
one thing that is very important. The map is a hex map, not an area map. There's hexagons.
It's a hex map. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Huge
so
hexes.
Every single terrain is important. There are choke points on the maps.
Yeah, we kept it relatively simple. I did not want to have it too complex, with 25 different types of terrain and river and such. And no, there's just there's sea, there's coastal hexes, there are islands, there are mountains. And that's all about it. I did not want to have it too complex.
Okay, they're big, sweeping, epic campaigns, so it's not about these river, but there is a terrain element, so there is geography in the game. And you were saying new markets, new armies, and pirates and barbarians.
Yeah, we did it like this. In a way, new markets is my most favorite expansion. What I like second most, in a way, is pirates and barbarians, because with the action attack that you choose, you can enter pirates and barbarians the map. They will enter the map and they will contest hexes of your opponents, or they will even attack hexes of your opponents. The problem is, once pirates and barbarians are on the map, they can be played by everyone. So you call the pirates to attack your opponent, but once the pirates are on the map, your opponents may use them too to attack you.
Pay them. They're something mercenary armies, essentially.
Absolutely.
Great.
So this is a very, very fun and a very annoying element if you want to have these on the map. And with the last expansion, New Armies, we give to wargamers a kind of fog of war. We have nice wooden playing pieces, and they are placed face down, so you don't know their strengths. And we gave a little bit more tactical feeling for the wargamers. You know, I'm a wargamer myself, so I said, I need some more Tabasco. In the
Always
war
very
game.
simple, almost block game. We are seeing Columbia game level of complexity. Just Emerald Scott, something like that. Diversions, fog of war, intelligence. So there is some tactical meat to it. Okay, another question. Mare Nostrum, is it just for 5 players or for 2 to 5 players? Can we play Mare Nostrum with different numbers of players?
Yeah, it's 3, 4, or 5.
3, 4, 5. 3, 4, or 5. Okay. And I agree, it is essentially, potentially infinite game. You also, because I'm in the campaign, I made the all-in pledge. Okay, great. And I'm receiving the updates for the campaign, and you are already proposing some alternative modes to play the game. I've seen them. Some. Hence, can you speak about a bit more about this addition to the game?
Yeah, you know, players today, they are very demanding. For example, what we decided in the series History of the Ancient Seas is there's no element of luck. There's no randomness. So combat, for example, there are no dice, there are no cards. But now I know that there are people out there who love to roll the dice, and they want to have a combat results table, and they want to have randomness. So what we did is, what we will offer for free as a downloadable PDF from our website is an alternate combat resolution system for those who really want to have the random. And then we developed a very nice add-on, if you want, heroes and event cards. I was a Magic player at the time when Magic of the Gathering was very popular. I loved these instants. I don't know if you remember these instants.
The interrupts. Okay,
the interrupts. I love them. So what we have here, we have a little set of 26 interrupts or interrupts that you can play at any time, and they have very, very nice features like flooding, like famine, like the gods are in anger, or you have help of the god, you have a hero.
Random events, calamities, natural disasters.
We did this for these gamers out there who say, no randomness, no luck element at all. I said, okay, totally fine, I understand, I hear you. We have a very, very nice add-on with these heroes and event cards.
C'è allora, ci sono alcune cose aggiuntive, alcune cose vengono già messe come scaricabili gratuitamente in PDF, per esempio un sistema di risoluzione di combattimento alternativo, perché così com'è nel gioco è abbastanza fisso, abbastanza deterministico il combattimento, ma appunto viene fornita un'opzione per renderlo più random, più casuale, ok? Quindi più imprevedibile, ma anche il fatto che c'è questa espansione Heroes and Events, carte speciali che introducono eventi speciali, grandi personaggi, cose che appunto movimentano molto gli equilibri di gioco, because the game is a bit, I won't say determined. Of course, I have not yet played it, but by judging from the reviews, it's not too deterministic, but it is very balanced, and so there is not so much randomness. But with Heroes and Events cards, you had them. One of the reasons of the great success, we have to say, of Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea, which was total chaos, total mayhem. And I loved it. It was a civilization party game. Now you have the earthquake. Now you have rebellion. Okay, maybe a bit too much. Historical, but it was fun. Okay,
absolutely.
So, if you want to have some of this fun, but also maintain a tightly balanced game, there is this expansion, Heroes and Events. Quindi se volete avere un gioco bilanciato, però anche con un po' di questi elementi casuali, queste grandi cose che arrivano ogni tanto e scombinano tutto, c'è anche questa mini espansione di carte speciali. I really love how the game is really has a look of being, I already said that word, a sandbox game, or a game that you can play in many different ways, okay, in many different approaches. I have this box and I don't have to play it just in one way, just in one mode. So if I have different gaming groups which have different tastes, I can shift the game. I can calibrate the game to the tastes of different. This is great.
Yeah, for example, what we also did, everybody is talking about asymmetrical gaming today, like in the coin or like the root, which is very, very successful. What we did is we also have it asymmetrical, but we do not have it forced upon the players.
Okay.
It is something that is coming automatically, because in the game you have several possibilities how to win the game. You do not have to do territorial expansion. This is not 100% necessary in any case. There are a lot of approaches how to win the game. So one is going more into development, the other is going more into economical development. The other is saying, I want to have a huge territory that I want to conquer. So ways to victory are different. And this gives us a style of play that every gamer will favorize different actions. So every faction will have his own style of strategy and gaming and taking decisions. And there were no rules necessary for it. No rule at all. When you play the game and when we will have finished a game, and when we discuss about how was gameplay and such, we will realize that we had an asymmetrical gaming experience because you were following a different approach than I did. And I think that is very smart and very, very elegant. Because if, for example, you take the game Roots, in a way you have to learn 4 times rules for each faction. You have to learn a rule in a way.
4 different games into one, which is
in a way, yeah.
This reminds me of one of the greatest game about the pre-war World War II, which is Triumph and Tragedy, where you can win World War II without making it happen, because you can win it politically or economically even before the war breaks out. So you have many different paths. You have described a bit combat, which is quite deterministic. Also economy, you have resources that you have to gather and use those resources to create stuff, to create cities. So it is a civilization. There is also an exploration aspect and a diplomatic aspect. Can you tell us something more about that? About are there negotiations? Is the interaction beyond just military interaction in the game?
Yeah, it is like this, that because you mentioned it with Strife and Strategy, in our game it's also possible that you have a game and there will be no combat. It is possible. It is rare, but it is possible that there will be no combat. There is a very nice action. My most favorite action in the action cycle is offering armistice. Offering armistice means I offer armistice to you, and you cannot enter hexes that I occupy. because if you occupy a hex that I'm having a trading post in, without attacking me, but you contest this hex, and this hex does not produce income. So it's annoying. You do not fight, but you annoy me because I cannot produce income.
You block my port, you block my...
you cannot build, you cannot create income, you cannot build units and such. This is really annoying without the need to attack. So if you want to avoid that, you offer armistice. I give you 50 talents if you agree upon setting armistice. And then this is an open negotiation. And the diplomatic part of the game is also something that is not very complicated with the rules. It's something that is automatic. Because, you know, what is really great when you play games is the interaction and the communication between gamers.
You know, the discussions.
And I always say, why regulate discussions? Why shall I give you a rule how to negotiate? No.
In real life, no one regulates discussion.
Absolutely. As in real life, as in real diplomacy, there's no rule book for the diplomats. Huh? And in the game, it's the same. We have no rule for how to create a diplomacy.
Short description for Italian friends. L'aspetto diplomatico è molto libero, ok? Ci sono diverse tipologie di trattato, c'è anche ci sono alleanze, armistizi, eccetera. Quindi tenete conto che voi potete anche contestare degli esagoni dove magari il vostro vicino sta raccogliendo una risorsa e non è che fate una guerra. It does not start a war having a contest dex, ok? Però gli bloccate il flusso economico. E allora cosa fate? Beh, cosa facciamo in questo caso? Io ti pago 50 talenti, facciamo un bel armistizio così tu non mi blocchi più la crescita economica in quell'area. E tutti i negoziati diplomatici sono molto, molto, molto liberi, quindi c'è un'interazione. Fra l'altro non è neanche detto che nei giochi, nelle varie partite, sia necessario anche arrivare all'aspetto militare, o comunque sia che siano solo di campagna militare. Ci sono anche, in testa hanno fatto diverse partite in cui non ci sono stati grossi eventi militari. There have been no great military campaigns, no great military action, but just economic and diplomatic competition. Solo competizione economica e diplomatica. Ok. Now, history analysis really looks promising, is great. There are possible future evolutions of the system. Ci sono possibili evoluzioni future del sistema. Beyond the campaign. Okay, we are on the campaign. We must focus on the campaign. But are you already you are already thinking for sure for possible evolutions of the system in the future?
Yeah, you know, a game I absolutely want to do with this mechanism is called Roma Victoria Semper. It's not only because my wife is half Italian, it's because I love the setting of Rome.
From Rome, so this is very appropriate,
I love the setting of the Romans in Gallia.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The Romans in Gaul. I really love this setting, and
late Roman Republic and so on.
And then I watched, of course, the movie, you know, the with Russell Crowe.
The Gladiator and so on, of course.
Yeah, the Gladiator, and he said, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." And then they have this attack in this wood, and and then I, as I'm a little bit, let's say, historically interested, I know that Roma Victoria Semper, and I want to do a game that is called Roma Victoria Semper. It will be a game for 2 players that is sharing the same basic mechanism as in History of the Ancient Seas, but the very interesting constellation in Gaul. While the Roman legionaries tried to conquer Gaul, there were the Germanic tribes, the Belgian tribes, and the Platonic. And they switched sides from time to time. And it was not clear for whom the Belgians fight. So there will be a lot more diplomacy in Roma Victoria Semper. And this will be...
Even as a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
interesting.
this is the one that I have right now there on my table.
Okay.
While watching if something is happening on Kickstarter, I have it on the table and I'm working on this right now.
Ok, allora sta lavorando effettivamente a un suo progetto, lo chiama Roma Victoria Semper, è l'idea di partire dalla base di History of the Ancient Seas e però riambientato a partire nell'ambito della campagna in Gallia, quindi Giulio Cesare, Julius Caesar, gioco per 2 giocatori, però con molte regole particolari, perché ovviamente avrete anche tutto l'aspetto delle singole fazioni galliche, germaniche, belgiche, eccetera, da gestire con queste fazioni che passano da una parte all'altra. Ma la base del sistema rimane questo, quindi è un punto di lancio. One last question. Do you have also other projects independent from History of the Ancient Sea? Something you can give us a small
Other than History of the Ancient Seas, I have one project that we will manufacture, by the way, in Italy. I found a manufacturer, thanks to Sergio again, by the way. He introduced me to a very, very nice printer guy. Who is doing in Latina, I think, is his there is his factory, and he's sitting in Torino, and we met, and I want to produce with him because I know that Italy is very famous for a couple of things, of course, pizza, spaghetti, but the Italians are true masters of paperwork. They know how to work with paper, and this guy, he is doing fantastic paper, and I want to have a war game series in the Napoleonic era that we will produce in Italy with this company, and the first title will be Eylau, the Battle of Eylau.
Oh, Eylau. Yeah. Ok. I have to translate it immediately for our Italian friends. Sta lavorando a un altro dei progetti e con lo stampatore amico di Sergio Scavi, and we have seen the work of this printer with Give Us Victories. È lo stesso stampatore di Give Us Victories, quindi chi ha in mano Give Us Victories capisce di che qualità stiamo parlando. Sta lavorando su una serie di giochi napoleonici che saranno stampati in Italia, realizzati in Italia tramite questo stampatore, quindi componentistica estremamente interessante. Il primo sarà sulla battaglia di Eylau. Are they going to be a bit more traditional hex and counter war games?
Yes, this will be very traditional hex and counter war games, because as you know, this is my main personal interest.
Okay.
And I will do a series of tactical Napoleonic battles. The first one will be Eylau, then we will have Quatre Bras, then we will have the Battle of Ligny, then of course Waterloo, then we will have Austerlitz, Borodino, then we will have Jena, and this is what I'm going to. I see there's a question, huh?
Yeah. Giuseppe Bianchi is a great friend, and he tells that it is my fault if he buy the Ancient Civilizations of the Ancient Sea, and now he is thinking about to make the same error, the same mistake. Okay, it deserves it. It is a really interesting project, and makes congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, Giuseppe. You will really like Hotas. You will really like it. Yeah, it's a complete different cup of tea than this inner civilization thing. Yeah, complete different.
It's nice to have different games, different approaches. Giuseppe is also a medieval historian. Okay. As you say, here in Italy, war games and historical research are very closely related. So it is quite common that we have, you knew Sergio and one of his testers, and is Alessandro Barbero, which is one of the greatest active historians in Italy. So it is an ancient tradition, starting with Giuseppe Galasso, one of the greatest historians about the southern Italy, and he was not a war gamer, but he wrote one of the first articles about Waterloo in a mainstream magazine. So this is a very Italian tradition, and also a bit also with the help of my father, who was his secretary. So it is family and historical tradition all together.
Yeah.
Really, do you have something to say to our to your Italian listeners, to your Italian friends?
Yeah, just because you were mentioning that Giuseppe is interested in medieval history, we also have a very nice project which is called
Okay.
Neither God Nor King, a game about the Renaissance in Europe. And this is a big task for us, because I try to portray affection Italy, but Italy at the time did not exist as such. So I needed to decide, how do I call this Italian affection? I decided to call it the papal state. And I needed to decide which centers are represented. Firenze, Genova, Roma, of course, this is evident. And this is also a very nice project with a high level of interaction, completely different to Hotas, with a new system how to create uncertainty and interaction, which I really like a lot. This will be the next big Kickstarter project. You know, the war game games. I think there is a very defined public, and it's easier to reach war gamers than strategy gamers, and there's a little bit the competition is a little bit different. But Neither God Nor King will be a huge Kickstarter project for coming summer. And we will try to prepare that coming summer.
In the Renaissance period,
yes, it's playing. It's playing 50-50. King Charles V of Spain is dead. He is separating the Habsburgian Empire. He's giving it to his two sons. And then, you have the Reformation and all that stuff, and
the Italian Wars, what they are
and
called.
the Italian Wars. Yeah.
It's nice to say that the Italian Wars is not a definition that is very popular here in Italy. I don't know. Yeah, it is not. It is weird because Italian Wars is much more common as a definition outside of Italy. We don't like to speak too much about that period because there were a lot of people fighting. So it is something of a black hole here. È in arrivo prossimo Kickstarter un gioco sulle guerre d'Italia, quindi stiamo parlando del 1500, e quindi anche lì completamente diverso rispetto alla storia di Ancient Seas, però anche lì un altro gioco molto interessante. Quindi, come vedete, tanti progetti, lots and lots of projects in coming from you.
Yeah. We are very creative. Yeah. and as I said, if I want to say something to my Italian friends, cari amici, thank you very much. Grazie tante a tutti to have joined tonight, to listen to me and to Riccardo. I hope you enjoyed our information that we could give to you. Do not hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any question. I'm online all week, day and night, because I'm totally focusing on history of the ancient seas right now. And, I'm very impressed by the Italian gaming community, because compared to Germany, you have a little bit less people in Italy than in Germany, but you are very active, and there's a lot of happening in Italy, and I'm really very amazed and surprised, and I met so many nice Italian gamers. I got a lot of emails now during the campaign, and a lot of Italians were contacting me. Yeah, and I superb, and I'm very happy about it. And I'm living now in Switzerland, and Milano is much closer to me than Frankfurt. So I'm way more often in Italy than I'm in Germany, and I promised Sergio to come back to Reno to play, to drink and eat and chat and chit chat. So,
Okay. Dave, thank you very much for having been here and really thank you. Ringrazio Uwe per essere stato con noi e ringrazio tutti quanti voi che siete stati qui con noi questa sera. Ricordo History of the Ancient Seas, descrizione, il link, scusate, alla campagna Kickstarter fino al 6 ottobre in descrizione del video. Euro-friendly, of course, project shipping, so not even to say, quindi assolutamente progetto euro-friendly, quindi nessun problema di spedizioni dogane e cose varie. Veramente un progetto interessante, alto livello di produzione, se vedete le foto, veramente molto 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 interessante, e un altro grande proposta e un modo anche per far crescere il nostro pubblico. Ok, un saluto a tutti, come sempre. Thank you Uwe. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
It was my pleasure. Have a nice evening. Bye bye. Talk to
Saluto
you
a
soon.
tutti.
Yeah, bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.